Welcome back to another episode of the High Frequency Chaos. Today, we're going to be diving into the Book of Enoch.
This is what Enoch saw when he was taken to heaven. After two angels invited him to heaven, he was taken to the clouds, which would be the first heaven. As they ascended, they eventually came to a very dark place, full of prisoners crying as if they were in pain. These were the angels who rebelled at the beginning against God, bound in the second heaven. The third heaven is where paradise is, and right in front of it is hell. In the fourth heaven are the moon and the sun. In the fifth heaven are countless massive beings, also known as the Gregories, who are in a state of endless sorrow, as they were the Anunnaki, and once descended to earth and were contaminated with women, now awaiting judgment along with the Prince of Rebellion. In the sixth heaven are all the cherubim, seraphim, phoenix, and celestial creatures. In the seventh heaven are angels with many eyes. I believe they are the Ophanim. The eighth heaven controls and changes the seasons. The ninth heaven has many constellations and galaxies. But when Enoch finally reaches the 10th heaven, that's when he sees God face to face. Enoch says that God's face is wonderful, but also very fearsome, terribly terrifying.
I got some interesting videos to show y'all. The Book of Enoch is a very interesting book that was taken out of the Bible or considered non-canonical. It's an Ethiopian version of the Bible, and I believe it's a very important book. It explores the fallen ones, the Nephilim, the false small g gods, and also aliens, and all of these UFO conspiracies combined. Let's dive in and let's see what TikTok has for us today.
Same as a lie. The Book of Enoch and why it was banned from the Bible. Ever wondered about the secrets hidden from the Bible? Let's dive into the ancient and mysterious Book of Enoch. Written between the 2nd and 3rd century BC, this book is packed with revelations that didn't make it to the official scriptures. The Book of Enoch is a fascinating text filled with apocalyptic visions and revelations. It is divided into several sections, each detailing unique aspects of celestial and earthly lore. One prominent section is the Book of the Watchers, which describes how 200 fallen angels, or Watchers, descended to earth, corrupting humanity by teaching forbidden knowledge and producing the monstrous Nephilim, whose wickedness brought chaos to the world. God sent a great flood to cleanse the earth, but the spirits of these giants lingered, becoming what we know today as demons. Another part, the Book of Parables, offers visions of the coming judgment and introduces the concept of the Son of Man, a messianic figure. This text also delves into the spiritual realm, describing the fate of souls and offering a profound commentary on morality and divine justice, reflecting deep-seated religious concerns of the time. Enoch's visions didn't stop at giants. He described the heavens, the afterlife, and even prophesied about the Messiah. So, why was it banned? The early church fathers thought Enoch's stories were too controversial, challenging core doctrines like original sin. Despite its exclusion, the Book of Enoch remains a treasure trove, providing deep insights into ancient beliefs. Drop amen if you love God, and follow me to watch more videos. God bless you.
Church hates the Book of Enoch, but why? Is it because within its pages we find the union between angels and human women, giving birth to an abomination that even God himself had not foreseen in his plan? Or is it because the church hates the Book of Enoch, but why? Is it because within its pages we find the union between angels and human women, giving birth to an abomination that even God himself had not foreseen in his plan? Or is it because the offspring of this union, the Nephilim, possessed a power that would devastate everything to the point that God himself had to intervene and drown them with the great flood? Or could it be because a human like Enoch was not only escorted by angels to heaven, earth, and Sheol, but was also transformed into an angel by God himself, with a power unmatched compared to the rest of the celestial hierarchy? Could it be because Metatron, who was once human, is now seated beside the Father as a celestial scribe? What do you think was the reason? And
Who is Enoch?
You know that Enoch was a real powerful man because he's talked about in the Bible. Yet his book is not in the Bible. It was left out by accident on purpose. And the reason why is because he's talking about beings that were not from Earth, that came here from up above and engaged mankind. They taught us how to build weapons. They taught us about perfume and makeup, taught us how to make jewelry and beer and all this other crazy stuff, right? They were having sex with humans. So these weren't like the angels that we're thinking with the fluffy wings. These were people. And these beings that came to visit gave him an appointed date that he would be taken away from Earth. And so he got taken away from Earth, and he then describes the shape of the Earth, gigantic blue glowing sphere. He went away for a while, then comes back.
The Book of Enoch was taken out of the Bible. Is withholding information the same as a lie? The Catholic Church thought it was too apocalyptic. Jews believe it was inconsistent with the Torah. What we all can agree on is that the Book of Enoch was there. Enoch is Noah's great-grandfather. See why they decided to take this out of the Bible. Start your journey into reading the ancient text that started all of this.
The Book of Enoch explained a group of fallen angels known as the Watchers, and what they did will shock you. I'll explain the worst of these angels at the end of the video, so stay until the end. There are 200 of these angels that fell, and here are a few of their names: Samyaza, Azazel, Armaros, Arakil, and Barakil. Now let me explain why these angels are so bad. Azazel taught mankind how to make weapons for war. This act alone resulted in chaos, even still to this day. But it gets far worse. The leader of these angels, Samyaza, is far worse than Satan himself. Here's why. Not only was Samyaza the one responsible for leading every fallen angel to sin, he also led a series of experiments with the other fallen angels. They created a series of twisted, disfigured beings with human DNA and animal DNA. This whole story is spoken about in the Book of Giants. It says the 200 angels chose animals on which to perform unnatural acts, including, presumably, humans.
There are 10 heavens in the Book of Enoch. Some of the beings Enoch seen in the higher levels of heaven frightened Enoch so much that he fell down in terror. The first heaven is directly above the firmament. The firmament is described as some kind of barrier surrounding the earth that has another body of water above it that is bigger than every ocean on earth, according to the Book of Enoch. The second heaven is a prison for the fallen angels. The third heaven Enoch saw was a heaven full of paradise for the righteous people. However, there is also another side of this heaven that is similar to hell, and it's for the unrighteous people. The fourth heaven is where the solar and lunar tracks are. This means Enoch seen how all the astrological constellations operated. The fifth heaven is where the Watchers are. These are the angels that mated with humans and made the Nephilim, giants, and demons. The Watchers are described as looking like humans, but giant in comparison. The sixth heaven has 7 groups of archangels. They are described as being extremely bright beings that are even brighter than the sun. The seventh heaven was so frightening to Enoch that he literally began trembling with fear. In this heaven, he seen the fiery armies of the archangels, the seraphim, the cherubim, the dominions, the origins, the authorities, and the many-eyed thrones, and even more angels. We don't know most of the angelic races I named, however, we can just imagine how frightening this was. The 8th heaven is where the seasons are changed. The 9th heaven is where the zodiac is contained. And the 10th and last heaven has God himself present. Enoch describes God's face as being supremely awesome and supremely frightening. There are also cherubs and seraphim angels singing in this heaven. Did you know?
All right, you Bible people, I need you to stop scrolling because I need to understand a little better about what is going on. So I seen that on TikTok that there was the Book of Enoch. Well, guess what? I got it. All right, it's hardcover, and I just need to know, what am I looking for exactly? Like, what do I need to read? Because they took God out of schools. They took quite a few books out of the Bible. And I just want to know why. Like, I'm curious to why everything is getting twisted and tangled. So, I'm going to attach the link where I got this book, so that way if you guys want one, you guys can have one too. But, go ahead, grab you one today.
All right, here we are again, diving down these rabbit holes. The Book of Enoch. Now, like I stated earlier, it's a very interesting book, and not just the Book of Enoch, there's a lot of other books that were excluded, that were considered not canonical. I have the Lost Scriptures. Get a good look at that. And it's an encyclopedia that has all the books of Enoch. It also has the Book of Adam and Eve, the Lost Books of Jubilee, the Apocryphas, the Apocalypse of Abraham, the Gospel of Thomas, the Gospel of Judas, like the Wisdom of Solomon as well. Again, this is a very interesting book. You can find it on Amazon. The Lost Scriptures. The Lost and Rejected Scriptures. The encyclopedia, it's by Joseph B. Lumpkin. I have been reading the encyclopedia for quite some time now. The Book of Adam and Eve is a very, very, very intriguing book. I highly recommend you seek out the Book of Adam and Eve. But be careful where you get your sources from. And again, always use discernment when you're watching these videos, when you're doing your research. It's very, very important. There's a lot of deceptive spirits out there. And the key here is taking information from everywhere and using your discernment to make sense of all the unknown and all this, fabrication of false reality, and know that we live in a spiritual matrix. All right, let's dive into some more Enoch videos. Let's get it.
In the Book of Enoch, Azazel is a prominent fallen angel who plays a significant role in the narrative. He is portrayed as one of the leaders of the rebellious Watchers, a group of angels who descended to earth and took human wives, as described in the book of Genesis. Azazel is depicted as teaching humans various forbidden arts and crafts, including metallurgy, cosmetics, and weaponry. According to the Book of Enoch, Azazel is held responsible for introducing sinful practices to humanity and corrupting them. He is also associated with the scapegoat ritual described in Leviticus 16, where the sins of the Israelites are symbolically transferred to a goat, which is then sent into the wilderness. In some interpretations, Azazel is identified as the demon to whom this scapegoat is sent, carrying away the sins of the people.
The Book of Enoch revealed some troubling secrets about exactly who will go to hell. Enoch even tells us exactly what hell looks like. Enoch was taken to each dimension of heaven, and there are a total of 10 levels to heaven, but we'll only be speaking about the first 3 for this video. The first heaven is located directly above the firmament, the second being a prison for the angels, and the third heaven is a paradise for the righteous. However, there is a much darker side to this heaven as well, for the unrighteous. Located in the northern region of this heaven, Enoch seen all kinds of torment. In Enoch's own words, there is no light there, and a black fire blazes up perpetually, with a river of fire that comes out over the whole place, fire here, freezing ice there, and it dries up and it freezes. Also, there are evil angels in this place tormenting humans. The angels that took Enoch through these levels of heaven told Enoch who these people who will go to hell are. They told him, "This place, Enoch, has been prepared for those who do not glorify God, who practice on the earth the sin, which is against nature, of witchcraft, enchantments, divinations, trafficking with demons, who boast about their evil deeds, stealing, lying, insulting, coveting, resentment, fornication, unaliving people, and who steal the souls of men secretly, seizing the poor by the throat, taking away their possessions, enriching themselves from the possessions of others, defrauding them, who, when they are able to provide sustenance, bring about the death of the hungry by starvation, and when they are able to provide clothing, take away the last garment of the naked, who do not acknowledge their Creator, but bow down to idols which have no souls, which can neither see nor hear, vain gods, constructing images, and bowing down to vile things made by hands. For all these, this place has been prepared as an eternal reward."
All right, so the Book of Enoch has very descriptive details of heaven and of hell. The Bible only gives us a glimpse of what hell entails and what heaven really looks like. The Book of Enoch describes heaven like the best way that I could have ever interpreted it. Um, it's very beautiful the way he describes heaven in his works. Also, in the Book of Enoch, it describes what God, you know, looks like, full of fire. He sits on fire, a throne of fire. Though men cannot see God, they will die before his mighty power. So I highly advise or encourage you to dive into this awesome book. I would say get the encyclopedia from David Joseph B. Lumpkin, the one I have, because there's a lot of other apocryphas and books in there. I am not a spokesman for his encyclopedia. However, it's a very interesting collaboration of the lost scriptures and put together, and it also has biblical references to support a lot of these doctrines that the higher bees found non-canonical. All right, let's dive into some more Enoch.
Do you know mermaids are actually biblical? I will explain what one of the most important missing books from the Bible says about mermaids, and why throughout history there have been countless sightings of what is believed to be a mythical creature known as the mermaid. These creatures have been documented in several ancient cultures, with each culture labeling the beings with different names. However, they each possess the same overt appearance. So we must begin asking ourselves how real these creatures actually are. And when we do, we can find the answer because there is a secret missing book that's a part of the Bible that speaks about mermaids and who they actually are. Let me explain. There were 2,000-year-old biblical scrolls found in a cave in Qumran, and these scrolls are known as the Dead Sea Scrolls. These ancient scrolls contain the biblical text we know of today, including the Book of Genesis and the Book of Isaiah, to name a few. However, there was one book that was completely hidden from the Bible for decades. This book is known as the Book of Enoch. This book adds on to the topics the Holy Bible doesn't go into depth with, such as the biblical creatures.
All right, what are your thoughts? What lurks below the sea? What really lurks below the deep below abyss? I do believe in mermaids. Mermaids were sirens. The sirens who were punished by God or cursed. These women who became sirens were punished because of sleeping with the Watchers and bearing giants. So they became sirens. There are many tales from fishermen, proclaiming that they've heard people singing or women singing, in the middle of the ocean. These sirens lead men to their death. That's part of their punishment that was bestowed upon them, for sleeping with the Watchers. And who knows, there's manipulated by the Watchers as well. But they chose that.
The Book of Enoch mentions a group of mysterious beings, and these beings are what led up to the creation of what we now call mermaids. The story starts off with a group of angels known as the Watchers. These angels came to Earth and mated with human women, and this unholy union resulted in the biblical giants we know about in the Book of Genesis. Check out my full video explaining the Watchers here if you're interested. However, the Watchers, the Nephilim, and the women that mated with the Watchers all paid a price for this unholy union. The Watchers were bound in a place known as Tartarus. The Nephilim were destroyed in a great flood, and the women who mated with the Watchers, well, they were cursed to become mermaids. Warren Enoch 19 verse 2 says, "The women also of the angels who went astray shall become sirens." Sirens can be translated to two different creatures. First, we have the Greek siren, which is a half-bird, half-human creature. And then, siren can also be translated to mermaids. However, over time, the word siren has been a title to describe a particular type of mermaid that sings a hypnotic song that lures men off their ships to their watery demise. There is even a show called Siren that is about mermaids. Originally, mermaids were human women, and this is why in several films they turn into human women. It is because that is their original form, although they can't turn back into humans since they are cursed. And they're not anywhere near as beautiful as they're portrayed according to first-hand accounts with these creatures.
As we all know, Disney has been lying to us. The Little Mermaid ain't something magical, it's something horrifying.
Why do you think Enoch's text was left out of the canonized Bible? Enoch is highly, highly, highly revered in the biblical text. However, his own book, look at all this information in here, was left out of the Bible. Well, I'll tell you why. Because it's talking about these people behind me. That's why. It's an ancient Jewish religious text traditionally ascribed to Enoch, the great-grandfather of Noah. Now, who is Noah? We know now, because I've been reading the Epic of Gilgamesh, that Noah is actually Ziusudra. That's his real name, Ziusudra, before it was converted to the name of Noah in more recent texts. Or even in some, depending on which version of the Epic of Gilgamesh, Akkadian or Babylonian, it could be Utnapishtim. But Enoch is the great-grandfather of the person that was actually given the instructions on how to build a ship to be saved from the flood. He was given actual instructions on how to build this from Ea Enki, one of these Anunnaki people. Enki saved him and his family's life by teaching him how to build this particular disc-shaped floating device. It's interesting that that connection, that lineage is there. Two people, same bloodline, both being directly engaged by these beings.
In the Book of Enoch, if you want to know the angels that sinned that he's talking about, they somehow developed a lust for human beings. Where does that come from? Right. What angels that sinned? How do angels sin? These entire, but it's like little blips, because it seemed as though when this angelic DNA and human DNA got together, it created these literal abominations, things that weren't supposed to be here.
Especially the Book of Watchers. And what it really is it's an expose, it's an expounding upon Genesis 6. It fills in the story. Because Genesis 6 is 4 verses, right? And say, what does this mean? What happened? And this is what happened. It names players, it names villains. It talks about the things that these fallen angels did and that taught humanity.
But those concepts are only found, like, in the Book of Enoch. And so you can just glaze over it and be like, oh, we're not gonna talk about that in 1 Peter. We're not gonna talk about what Jude said. I think it's easier to kind of just go to the main points that most churches like to talk about.
And now we learn from the Bible what comes through these portals. Hello out there. In order for us to find out what is coming through these portals and where they are going to, we had to first map out the portals according to the correct topography of the world map. In order to do that, we have to go to the Book of Enoch, and I'll be explaining this step by step, so you will have to follow me in order to understand what is going on. And it says right here in the Book of Enoch, and at the ends of the earth I saw 12 portals open to all the quarters of the heaven, from which the winds go forth and blow over the earth. 3 of them are open on the face, which is the east. And as we have here, this is the face, and that's the back of the head. So this is the face, and 3 in the west. As you can see, the west is right here, east, west, all right? And 3 on the right, which is the south of the heaven. So the right, we have south on the right-hand side. All right, and 3 on the left, which is the north. 3 on the left is the north. All right, so we will have to turn the map this way, which puts Africa north. All right, and we have Russia in the eastern part, and we have, of course, the United States in the west. All right, now let's see what happens with these portals. Now it says, and the first wind from these portals, called the east wind, comes forth through the first portal, which is in the east, inclining towards the south. From it comes forth desolation, drought, heat, and destruction. And let me explain that. It said the east wind comes forth through the first portal, which is in the east, inclining towards the south. Let's find that. This is the east, and it's inclining towards the south. So this is the first portal, because that's south. So this portal right here is bringing forth desolation, drought, heat, and destruction. So let's see what country is near that. And this is Russia. So let's find out what kind of information do we have on heat and destruction and drought in Russia. Now, when you look at it online, you find out that we have droughts of 1975 and 1981 occurred in all crop production regions of the country. Look at that, all crop production regions of the country. So this is definitely destruction. They were unprecedented since 1891, the shortage in the total grain harvest, and that's the rest of the article. But notice what it says here. Droughts and famines in Russia and the Soviet Union. Mass famines were reported in years of drought in the 1920s and 1930s, and the last one occurred in 1984. Now this is Russia. This same portal, which it says come forth drought and heat and destruction, is right here next to Russia. I find that very interesting. Follow me, and on the next one, we'll discuss what goes through the next portal. God bless you. Have a great day.
Okay, so I'm reading the Book of Enoch, and whoa, no wonder they kept this out of the Bible. So let's see what I found so far. So right from the beginning, chapter 1, verse 2. And Enoch, a righteous man whose eyes were opened by God, took up his parable. I'm like, whose eyes were opened by God? What needs to be opened? Talk about the pineal gland? Because I'm all here for it. Let's continue on. So Enoch starts telling us that he saw all the visions of the holy ones from heaven. And he says what he saw and heard, he understood, but it wasn't for his generation. It was for a future generation. Which generation? Our generation? I'm not sure. I need more. Let's keep reading. So verse 3 says this is concerning the elect. Now the word elect was used many times in this reading. Elect is like the elected, the chosen ones. So he says this is concerning them coming from the Holy Great One. So he finishes chapter 1 and goes into chapter 2, which is where he's been describing how he saw the earth, all the things that he had learned from his time in heaven. As he describes all these beautiful things, he lets it be known that all the saved people, those with salvation, they'll be fine. Everything is great. However, the sinners, there's no salvation for them. So, fix your life now if you can. So boom, now we're in chapter 3. It's called Fallen Angels. I'm like, yes, this is why I came here. This is what I want to read. So it starts explaining how all the people of earth have just been multiplying, and it's beautiful, it's lovely. And then the angels, as they refer to them, the children of heaven, the angels, they saw these people, they start looking at the women, and they're like, oh, the women are looking snatched. Like, why? Why is this holy being, this angel, these angels, why are they looking like this? I mean, I know some of us are pretty fly, but I'm just saying, like, you're an angel, like, whatever. I'm not an angel. I don't know what they were thinking, but that's what they were thinking. These women, they're looking scrumdiddlyumptious. Now I want to read the verse though. So again, it's chapter 3, verse 2. It says, and the angels, the children of the heaven, saw and lusted after them and said to one another, come, let us choose wives from among the children of men and beget us children. Now, their leader, the name is Semjaza, says, but I fear ye will not indeed agree to do this deed, and I alone shall have to pay the penalty of a great sin. So think about that for a second. Group of angels, they're here to watch the people, make sure they're good. And their head guy is like, yo, I want to do this, but I just feel like if I do this, I'll be the only one that goes down for this crime. So basically, he feels like his boys are going to sell out on him, right? Like, they're not going to do it. They're just going to say they're going to do it.
What do you think would have happened if they found that the Book of Enoch was, in fact, could have been canonized? Do you believe that it would have led man on a different trajectory in life when it comes to faith and believing in, God? Do you believe this was orchestrated by these false entities to deceive mankind? Again, we must all do our research. There's a lot of information out there concerning the Apocryphas, the Book of Enoch, the Book of Jubilee, and even the lost scriptures. Always use discernment. Pray that you have insights and use wisdom when diving down these rabbit holes, because it could sometimes lead you down to practicing occultic rituals. But sometimes be careful diving down this rabbit hole. It can lead to very, very scary and dark places, especially if you don't have the right frame of mind and you're not in the right spiritual setting. This is just part 1 of the Book of Enoch dive. We have many more chapters or episodes to dive into, and we'll also read some of the scriptures or the passages from the encyclopedia here. Let me know in the comments if you're interested in reading the encyclopedia with me, and we can still dive into more of these awesome videos for knowledge and understanding. As always, thank you for being here with me to watch another reaction video of creepy, bizarre, disturbing TikToks, and even breaking through the spiritual matrix wall of just gaining understanding. As always, peace, love, stay safe in these dark, deceptive times. HFC out.